May the force be with you.
This is going to be a physical SEC football game, and that's what it was. But just so happy for our fans and so happy for our players.
On the muff punt, obviously a really close call that was overturned. I mean, what was said to you?
I don't know. I mean, it's that he touched it.
We did not come here to lose by 7. We came here to win the game, and I think you could see that by the way that we played. We just ran into a team that was 7 points better than us tonight, and it'd be hard to look at the Arkansas Razorbacks and not be proud of the effort and the resiliency that we showed tonight and the physicality.
I think he's gotten better and better. Here's a bug. He's had the ability to do it in practice.
Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Michael on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vaz on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
This one's for you, Dan Mullen.
Hey, buddy. What's going on? Is there any news out there, Mike? I'm popping one open too, Shane, for old Dan Mullen. May his Gator career rest in peace.
Oh, man, Mike. We saw it coming. But, you're still kind of surprised when you hear the news. I just, one bad season, Mike. Not even a full season. Half a bad season, and you're out, man. You're out in the SEC. There's just a few schools that are like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could literally lose every game at Vanderbilt. Coach Lee's going to be there next year. We know it. But Florida's, LSU's, Alabama's, you cannot afford to have a terrible season or you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, and I mean, a year ago, this would have been, you would have sounded like a complete idiot had you said Dan Mullen's going to get fired without, some kind of huge scandal. And even, let's give a shout out to a longtime listener. I think he goes by Liquid Flames. We put out the Twitter poll. Will Dan Mullen be fired at the end of the season? I think we put that out at the end of the LSU game. And, the consensus was, man, you guys are stupid for even suggesting this. Because Mullen has been such a good coach up until this season. But, man, I think this just goes to show. The guy just got a contract extension last offseason. Now he's out the door with Georgia looking like a rising potential dynasty there in the East. Florida crumbling at the seams. Man, 12 months ago, never would have seen this coming. About a week or two ago, we were thinking it was inevitable. So, man, that's just life in the SEC. You, for whatever reason, you can't afford to have a down year, and you can't unless your recruiting's going well. You got a star quarterback. We got Anthony Richardson deleting all his Florida stuff off his Twitters, liking all the Lane Kiffin's tweets. I mean, so much drama here. We even got, we played it there in the intro, but Eli Drinkowitz with "May the Force be with you." I mean, man, it was just a collection of bad events there in Gainesville, and that's why Dan Mullen's no longer the head coach down there in Florida.
Yeah, it's optics too, Mike. Like you said, a stupid gesture that he made last year with the Darth Vader outfit, it becomes a storyline when you lose, and Coach Eli's doing the same thing. It's just right now is the worst time to have negative press, and they are all over him. So I'm still kind of surprised. I mean, I thought maybe at the end of the year, yes, maybe they'll find something. I did not expect during the season. Of course, I didn't expect them to lose so many games during the SEC either. Hell, here we are. The Florida Gators got one last shot to get into a damn bowl game, Mike.
Yeah, 2-6 in the SEC. I believe I've seen the stat that that is the worst Florida record since the SEC went into divisions, and that was back in 1992. It's just incredible. Like you said, Dan Mullen was given the option to stick it out, stay through the Florida State game, made the decision not to do so, thought it'd be a distraction. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know about you, Shane, but I mean, I kind of enjoy Coach O on the sidelines here, firing up the troops and giving it his all. I mean, I guess it is a little bit of a distraction, but I think, for the players, I think he should stick it out. I don't really hold it against Dan Mullen for not doing it, but what are your thoughts on that, Shane? Do you think Dan Mullen should have stayed for the last game and try to get that win over Florida State for these seniors?
Well, yeah, I think part of it, is something that you're going to need later on a resume, that you toughed out adversity and you hung in there, even though things didn't go your way. I think you could spin it that way, but Coach O's situation is a lot different. Coach O's at his dream job. He'll never land a job as glorious as the LSU Tigers right now. He knows that. So he's going to live but that's who he is. I mean, you saw him at Tennessee. Hell, he was ready to get out. He's telling recruits not to call. It was a different program. So I think you could judge it either way, but until you're in Dan Mullen's shoes, Dan's been in the spotlight for multiple weeks. Florida Gators have got a lot of things. They got a lot of fires, man, that need to be put out. And it's not going to get put out by your head coach that got fired sticking around one more week. In fact, it could be a distraction. If anything, this may rally some of the troops that are down there to go out and beat a terrible Florida State team. Because let's not act like this ain't Bobby Bowden's boys. You know what I'm saying? This is a team that they should win, and they still can make a bowl game. So you can get something out of this. But let me ask you, Mike. I am curious at your thoughts. It kind of surprised me that it happened during the season. Usually, when you see that, it's a race to get some, the next guy in. Hey, we're available now. You think there's anything like that? Do you think there's anything in the back working around who possibly could come there? And if you had a dream list, is there anybody who's your first call if you're the AD down there in Florida?
Before I answer that, Shane, let's kick it over to the AD, Scott Stricklin. A couple highlights from his press conference here on Sunday. He said he made the decision Sunday morning, so I don't know if that's true or not, but let's kick it over to Scott Stricklin, who talks about this decision and where the Florida program goes from here.
Hopefully he saw my video on Twitter, and he's like, this is it,
I know you guys saw the news. I met with Coach Mullen shortly before noon today in his office, and we had a conversation. Just told him I felt like we needed to go a different direction for the Gators and our football program. And he understood. It was actually a very productive conversation. Gave him the opportunity to coach the game Saturday against FSU. And after some discussion, and he actually took some time to think about it, he made the decision that he thought he would be a bit of a distraction if he was around this week after this news came out, and so he made the decision to step away and not coach the FSU game.
Obviously, this is a destination job. This will be Florida's fourth head coach in 8 years. How does that keep happening?
I have some thoughts. It's interesting. All three of those coaches, the last three, even going back to the one before, actually have had things that they could look to that brought a lot of pride in the university, whether it's Sugar Bowl appearance or BCS Bowls or SEC championship game appearances. The challenge has been we haven't been able to sustain it, and you've got to put really good structure, culture in place in order to sustain at a high level over a long period of time, and that's going forward what we've got to focus on.
Hey Scott, what are the realistic expectations for the job at Florida? I mean, I think I know how the fans feel, but how do you feel about that? What is the realistic expectation for a coach at Florida year after year?
To achieve at a high level for a sustained period of time. We talk about competing for championships and we talk about having a championship experience with integrity, but Florida's a place you have the right to aspire to that. We have incredible resources. We're at a great university. We have an incredibly passionate fan base. We've invested a lot in facilities. One thing that doesn't get talked a lot about, we have incredible alignment among our university, hierarchy, from the board of trustees to Dr. Fox, myself, the University Athletic Association board, Gator Boosters board, and I, you hear, you guys probably see things from other schools where trustees are trying to get involved in the decision-making process and who's really calling the shots. That doesn't happen here at the University of Florida. I describe our board and our administration on campus as they're not like defensive linemen. If the AD is the quarterback trying to make decisions, they're not defensive linemen trying to get at me, trying to force me to make a certain decision. They're like offensive linemen trying to protect me and give me a clean pocket. Hopefully better offensive linemen than you were, Andy. But they're like an offensive lineman trying to give a really clean pocket to let the people they put in the position of authority make decisions. And I think that matters, because I think to be really successful, you have to have that kind of alignment throughout the university. And so you look at that alignment on top of the incredible resources, incredible fan support, the facilities, the new facilities that are coming online, the conference we play in, where we live, a state of 21 million people that's one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country. We should have high expectations.
Are the expectations so high at the University of Florida that maybe sometimes they're borderline unrealistic? And is that putting undue pressure on the person having to coach the team?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, looking at Mel Tucker, if that actually is in fact true, I don't know that's, but I mean, the price tag is going up for these guys as we speak. Does the new TV deal and things like that make it more doable? I mean, because we're talking Dan walking out of the door with what he is and then bringing a new staff in. I mean, how onerous can that get financially for a program?
Edgar, we're gonna put the resources necessary into making the right decision to get the right person and the right structure around that person for us to be successful. And we're very blessed to be in a place that we do have some resources. So we'll I get it. The market is what the market is, and University of Florida is obviously committed to being highly successful in the sport of football.
Yeah, so Shane, they want us, the standard of excellence. They want to be competing for championships, and they want to be competing annually. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, if Scott Stricklin is telling the truth here, and I got no reason to believe he's not. If he made this decision on Sunday, I don't really think there is a list. I think any list you see is just people, throwing darts against the wall. But I'm gonna throw some darts at the wall here for you, brother, because when I hear you want to build a championship, there's a couple names, and not to say that. Now, here's the thing, Shane, because Southern Cal's open, LSU's open, we know that. Now, Virginia Tech, TCU, there's a lot of jobs open, a lot of good jobs. But I certainly think you can make the case Florida is the number one job. I think LSU's right there with it. We had that debate a couple months ago, and I'm just giving the slight edge to Florida because it's in the East, because Miami and Florida State are not that good at the moment. If you get the right coach in there, you have the ability to dominate that state in recruiting. I really do believe that. Going up against Georgia is not going to be easy, and what Kirby Smart's got going there. But I think I'd rather go up against Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri than A&M, LSU, Arkansas, the Mississippi schools, Alabama, the greatest dynasty of all time. So slight edge to Florida. But how about this name, Shane? I think this guy, potentially a really good fit here. Mario Cristobal, the Oregon coach. And the reason I like him, Shane, we know he's built Oregon into a real solid program there in the Pac-12, but he's got a lot of experience in the state of Florida. He was Florida international coach. He was an assistant at Miami. He was an assistant at Alabama. And the key thing there, Shane, what is the biggest issue with the Florida Gators? And it's recruiting. And Mario Cristobal, I believe last year he had Oregon top 5 recruiting class. That ain't easy. And I think, what he's picked up from Nick Saban, I think if he could apply that to the Florida Gators, he could increase the talent overnight. Now, I don't know him to be an X's and O's guru on either side of the ball, so he's going to have to hire some quality coordinators. But Mario Cristobal's a name that makes a lot of sense. One name that a lot of people are throwing around, Shane, Billy Napier, the Louisiana coach, who LSU, I think, is somewhat considering. I don't think he's at the top of their list, but another guy that worked for Nick Saban. He's worked for Dabo Swinney. He's kind of combined those programs together. He is more of an X's and O offensive guy, so I think there's some sense of a fit there. And Louisiana, he's got them into, I think they're in the Sun Belt, whatever, but they're annually one of the better teams in the Sun Belt, and he has passed on opportunities at Auburn and South Carolina and a couple others he's passed on. So Billy Napier is one to watch. And then I think the biggest fish out there, Shane, I hate to try to derail one of the biggest games we got here in the week, but how about old Lane Kiffin? I mean, I think that is a guy that just screams Florida Gators. And I know there was a little bit of bad blood when he was Tennessee's coach, but I would think them Gators would they would give him a pass for any Urban Meyer comments he made if he came down to Gainesville. What do you think about that?
I think you're starting to dip into the wish list, Mike. I mean, if we're going that route, I don't. The thing with Lane Kiffin is, yes, I think he would be an excellent hire for the Florida Gators, and they'd be crazy not to call him. But there's got to be some reserve still. Just. Is this the final thing? What happens if Nick Saban leaves? Is he going to want to jump on over to Alabama? That's one of the things I think would cross your mind is, would he be coming to Florida because this is where he wants to be? Seems like, he's always looking for the next best thing. USC was his dream job,
Right.
It's available. He may go back over there. We don't know. But I think Lane Kiffin would be a steal and would be awesome to have if you're a Florida Gator fan. But I don't know. I don't know if he's a perfect fit for them. I mean, if we're going down the wish list, there's one coach that's had success in Florida before, and he currently isn't in the NFL. Is there any? Should we rule out the opportunity that Urban Meyer comes over? I mean, if we're going down the bucket list here, would that be a possibility? You think, or I think you got it. I mean, You got to go all in, man. Florida, they are a storied program, man. Steve Spurrier put these guys on the map, and obviously Urban Meyer's had some success, but since then, Muschamp, Jim McElwain, now Dan Mullen. I mean, we're going on 10 years of ups and downs. It's a roller coaster down there. So I think they go all in. I don't think you mess around. I get the Napier talk and stuff like that, but now's the time to put all your chips to the front table and say, okay, this is how serious we are about this program. You can be one of the top funded programs in college football, and you may find you a little. Maybe Lane Kiffin. I mean, you don't have to pay him near as much, but I don't know. Maybe you do now. Shit, Mike, I have no idea. It's way too early. But I was like you. I'm trying to think. Since it happened not at the end of the season, this gives them a head start to work on someone. And I'm just curious who that is.
Yeah. And, man, Urban Meyer certainly would be interesting, Shane, but I don't know how realistic that is because we got a signing day here in a couple weeks. And the NFL season obviously goes much longer than the signing day. So I don't think you can afford to wait. I mean, you need him to leave his job in the middle of the night like old Bobby Petrino on his motorcycle down there when he left the Atlanta Falcons. So would you hire him if he did? Hell, I think Florida probably would. But I don't know. Urban Meyer seems a little bit unrealistic to me at this point. And another name that a big name that I think is going to excite a lot of people, but I think is truly unrealistic. I don't even really want to mention it until it's legitimate, but the name a lot of people keep mentioning is Bob Stoops, former Oklahoma coach. Mm-hmm. But look at it this way, Shane. This is how I always view it, because anytime there's an SEC job that's open, everybody says Bob Stoops, Bob Stoops, Bob Stoops. How realistic is it that he's going to compete against his brother, particularly not only in the same conference, but in the same division, where if he loses to his brother, I mean, his ass is on the hot seat immediately. And I think if you're Mark Stoops and you've beaten Florida 2 out of 4, and then your brother comes in there and just maybe he reinforces that dominance, now he's putting his brother on the hot seat. You know what I mean? Like, That's just a dynamic that I think has got to be a no-go unless old Mark and Bob hate each other. And to my knowledge, there's no animosity there. So, I mean,
absolutely.
That just makes no sense.
Does Stricklin really want to break a family up? I mean, it's Thanksgiving. Think about it, Mike. We don't want this to be their last dinner together. So I don't know. I mean, this is the plain tracking season, man. This is when you start keeping an eye on some of these big names. There's going to be some Twitter handle that populates tomorrow, and you can follow every flight that comes in and out of Gainesville. And there's going to be a lot of names thrown around. There's a few people like Tomlin that you can go ahead and mark off the list because they ain't leaving. But there is a short list that the Gators want, and rightfully so, man. I mean, this is a man. It's in the perfect location. Like you said, it's in the East right now, which is all jumbled up short of Georgia. That's the one you got. Like, I'm sure Lane Kiffin right now would love to get the hell out of the West so he can come over here and play. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of names floating around, and as soon as we hear them, man, we're going to let you guys know. So,
what if we got the wrong Stoops, and it's what if they target Mark Stoops down there at Florida? Could you imagine that?
I can't remember. I saw an article earlier this week talking about, is he the next guy? I mean, you gotta give it to him for what he's been able to do at the University of Kentucky is not short of. I mean, it's night and day.
Right.
It's turned into a football school, Mike, and I can't believe I'm saying that about the Big Blue Nation. So
they were basically Vanderbilt before he got there.
I would take Mark in a heartbeat before I'd take Napier out of Louisiana. I mean, well, get out of here with that nonsense. I'm going to need our beer, Mike. It's going to be one of them podcasts, ain't it?
Well, we do got a bunch of games to break down. We can't spend the whole thing on them Florida Gators because we'll have that thing covered. We got the emergency pod if you missed it, but we'll be all over this as news develops. But last thing, Shane, on it. How great would it be if LSU and Florida are competing for the same coach at the same time? And man, these fan bases think each of their schools is the best, and we'll find out in a damn hurry if there's a candidate out there that turns one of them down for the other. You know what?
I just thought that was funny, man. I was thinking about that as I'm driving home. I was like, man, this is a rivalry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whoever picks, I guarantee the list that LSU's using is going to be very similar to the list that Florida's using. And there's whichever coach goes to whichever school, that other program is going to absolutely hate that guy. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's just going to make that rivalry a little bit more interesting.
Well, speaking of how we got here, Shane, let's break down some of these games. And let's just start right there with the theme where the Florida Gators lost to Missouri on the road 24-23 in overtime. And this was, a little bit of a hard game to watch at first. It was a defensive battle, a field goal battle, back and forth. I thought both these coaches were kind of playing it conservative down the stretch until we got into overtime. Then things got a little bit of wacky here, and Tyler Beatty put the team on his back once again. Dan Mullen asked Emory Jones to carry the team. The running game was not exactly working, playing a little conservative, but in the end, Eli and company went for two. They went for the win, and we're seeing that more and more in overtime. It seems like teams don't want to mess around and get into a 2-point shootout here, and they used Tyler Beatty as a decoy, and Connor Bazelak hit, I believe it was Daniel Parker for the 2-point conversion to win the game. And I just want to play this real quick, Shane, because we all remember the Darth Vader. Well, old Eli, to end his presser, hit him right back here. And this is kind of going to be the lasting legacy of Dan Mullen here at Florida.
May the force be with you.
All right, Shane, may the force be with you, as it is old Dan Mullen. I mean, I could not believe your brother Jonathan, he asked if Eli was going to do something like this. I said, no chance in hell. Yet here it is. He pulls it out. He pulls out his damn lightsaber. And, man, isn't college football, the SEC in particular, there's nothing better than this. You know what?
I tell you, man, Eli is a smart ass. And this is just something he's been thinking about this all year long. You know what I'm saying? He didn't make any comments about it after Dan did it last year. But, man, this is one he kept in his back pocket. And it wasn't just that, Mike. I mean, he took to Twitter. He's liking, he's retweeting. He's sending pictures with him and the wife out on the town enjoying the game. I mean, he is enjoying it, and they should, rightfully so, Mike, because Florida is not an easy team to beat, clearly. Hell, Tennessee Vols didn't even do it on the down season. So, celebrate it, man, because you just don't know how often these wins are going to come by. And it was a hell of a game, Mike. It was, like you said, it was really, really ugly there at the beginning. In fact, it was tough to watch, even with that commentary, man. I was like, oh my God, I gotta. Can we play some Christmas music in the background or something? You know, it's there for a while. It was a little tough. Who is the commentator? Was it RG3? Is this the one that he did? No.
He did Auburn, South Carolina.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that one here in a minute. But I'll say this, Mike. When it got crunch time, man, that third, fourth quarter, man, you could tell this thing was going to be a nail biter. And I was glued to it. I couldn't stop watching. I kept wanting to flip over there to the Arkansas game, but I was glued to this Florida-Mizzou game because I just had no clue who's going to win it. I lost money, lost my ass halfway through this thing because I thought Florida was going to run away with it there for a brief second. And then as soon as I submit the bet, all of a sudden Mizzou's like, not so fast, my friend. It looks like Shane's got a little money on this thing. Let's start playing. And Beatty took the team. He put the team on his back yet again, and he carried them to victory. And that 2-point conversion, gutsy. Mm-hmm. I very risky. That was a hell of a play. I think it was a little broken up. It didn't look like it was designed that way, but credit to Mizzou for going for it, man. I'd love the fact, hey, how many opportunities you got to beat Florida Gators? You know, you let them stick around. You let Emory run around. Anything can happen. You had an opportunity to win. That's what Eli did. He went out there, and congratulations to Mizzou Tigers.
Yeah, and we'll play these comments.
Hell, congratulations to Florida. There's a lot of people I ain't going to lie, Mike. I seen it on Twitter. Don't act like you ain't. But there's a lot of Gator fans like, well, at least we can get a new coach out of this thing, you know?
Yeah, and I wish I knew who wrote this. I'd give him credit, but I did see it on Twitter where someone said, do you think Eli bought that lightsaber after Sanford put up 42 in the first half on them Gators? I mean, that was the perfect comment, but we'll get to Drinkowitz's post-game comments after this. But apparently on that 2-point conversion, Shane, that was Tyler Beatty that called the play. He said they've been watching for the screen and shadowing him and yelling every time he goes out there. So even though he's the best player on the field, best player on Missouri's roster, you know, he didn't demand the ball. He called him for a decoy, and it worked beautifully. So, you know, that's a credit to Tyler Beatty right there, where, you know, he just makes such an impact on the game even when he's not touching the ball. And this Missouri season was going sideways here, Shane. Mid-season, I mean, they look like one of the biggest disappointments in the SEC. We got to give them credit. They got a lot of young guys that are stepping up. They got a lot of veterans that came back. I thought this was tremendous. Eli, after the game, said, you know, our center, Michael Miotti, he's the transfer from Rutgers. He's played 2 years now at Mizzou.
Wait, what's his name?
Michael, I think it's Miotti, something like that. But he came,
like Mr. Miotti?
No, not.
Come on, Mike. Somebody's running with this one. Right?
Not at all the same. But he came back because he's never played in a bowl game. And now they've punched their ticket to the postseason, Shane, by beating the Florida Gators, beating, you know, a team I'm sure they consider a rival after the brawl, after the Darth Vader. And, you know, again, credit Missouri, man. The arrow is pointed up, and, like, it would have been very easy for them to, you know, give in. And they weren't picked, I don't think, to beat South Carolina. They weren't picked to beat Florida Gators, yet they've done it here. And now they're not going to be picked against Arkansas either. But, hell, I'm giving them a shot after seeing them play here on Saturday.
Man, I just, Mike, I'm going back to Tyler Beatty. And if they don't put a damn statue in front of that stadium, you know, there's a reason that Mizzou's going bowling. And it's not because of anyone on that staff. It's not because anyone on that roster other than Tyler Beatty. I guarantee you remove him from this equation, you've probably lost another 3 games during the season. That's just the impact that he's had on this thing. And I know we're going to talk about Matt, and we're going to talk about Alabama and some of these other Heisman candidates. But golly, when I think of a Heisman candidate, I think of the guy that is the team, that without him, the team suffers. And I think, man, you got a strong case here that without Beatty, that they wouldn't be where they're at right now. I mean, 13, he's killing it, man. Receiving, rushing, every game. It seems like every week we're talking about Tyler Beatty putting it up and getting a victory for him. So I think, I don't know. They better wear a sticker on the helmet or something during a bowl game or something, because this kid needs to get out there more. And it sucks that more of the national media attention is not talking about it. But I cannot wait to put this kid on my fantasy football team next year.
Really fortunate that Tyler Beatty really came on for us strong in the third and fourth quarter. He actually called the pass to Nico. He told me they were yelling screen. And said, we call it burn. Call burn. I was like, no, that's a crazy idea. And I was like, no, that's probably a pretty good idea. So we called it and hits for a touchdown. So then he, puts us on his back right there at the last two plays. So really proud of Tyler. Seniors are, it's interesting now, right? Because seniors transfer in, some of them have been COVID seniors. They've gone through a lot. For the last 18 months, I don't think anything's gone the way they expected it to go, with COVID, an extra year, a new coach, new position coaches at multiple places. And yet they continued to show up every day and give us everything they had. And, all week we just talked about, man, this is senior week. These guys deserve that chance to grab that rock. And that was special. And, I promised Mike Maietti he'd go bowling if he came back. That's the only reason he came back, because he'd never been to a bowl game. We came through today for that, so that was good. People chose to come here, and some people didn't choose me. And coming together is a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and we're just coming together. Whether it's the seniors who came back, whether it's through COVID, through adversity, through people leaving, through people coming. It's a process, and we're building on that process.
Well, Shane, you teased it there, so let's get to what was really the game of the week here in the SEC. I called it. Alabama beat Arkansas 42-35 in a back-and-forth contest. And, Bryce Young, he was outstanding, broke the all-time Alabama school record, Shane, for passing yards in a football game. 559 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. But equally impressive, I thought, Shane, KJ Jefferson, 326 passing yards, officially only had 3 touchdowns, really should have had 4, kind of got robbed there. A game that was back and forth. Treylon Burks, man, how comical was it? His over-under was 4 catches, 8 catches, 179, 2 touchdowns. He made himself millions of dollars, I would think, here on Saturday, going up against the Crimson Tide and being unguardable. And I don't want to say this cost him the game, Shane, but it seems like it's a weekly conversation we're having here, where it's just, we got to do something about these damn refs. This was one of the worst officiated football games I've ever seen in my life. So bad that the AD, Hunter Yurachek, had to come out here and say, this is 2 years in a row now we're leaving the state of Alabama, and we're feeling like we got robbed, is basically what he said. And of course, he's referencing the Auburn Bo Nix backwards spike last year. But, and again, I think Alabama would have won this game without, if the officiating was as good as it could be. But I don't know. I'm wondering here if, if I'm an Arkansas fan, I got to be pretty pissed off that some of these refs, just the poor job they were doing.
Well, I mean, it's something that we discuss all the time, and it's hard not to point it out, because you think of things like first downs. Even it's like a team gets a first down against Alabama. It's like, well, did he really? Let's pause it and let's look at this thing, And other teams, it's just like, let's just keep going, Or the one that got me the most was when Gary Danielson is saying clearly that's a touchdown for Arkansas. You know there's something going on there because he never roots for the other team. So, I mean, the guy was clearly in the end zone, and somehow that got put down at the 1 yard line. So, but anyway, it got corrected, and I will say this, Mike, about the officiating, because there were some other things. I mean, you could argue the delay of game touchdown. You remember that one going against Arkansas there. So, I mean, if you slow it down and you critique what these refs do and can't do, absolutely, you could eventually make an argument for either side. So the fact of the matter is, when you watch these two programs, they went toe-to-toe. Arkansas we knew they needed to play a perfect game to win this thing, and damn, they were close, Mike. I mean, that fake had me faked out. I said, holy, I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, shit, these boys are back in it, Yeah. It was a gutsy call. And at that brief moment, I said, oh, man, these guys belong. These guys have a chance to beat Alabama. But fact of the matter is, you look on the other side, brother, Alabama defense played terrible. Arkansas defense played terrible. But that offense is efficient and dangerous. I know we're going to talk about how well Burks played. But, hell, I mean, we got to mention Mechie. We got to mention Williams. These guys are just machines out there. Alabama wide receivers just reload. They talk about Mechie and all these first rounders that were in front of him. Mechie's not a bad receiver. He's just in a long line of excellent receivers, and he really showed that. I think 10 receptions, 173 yards. There was a couple opportunities that he almost capitalized on. He could easily had over 200 yards receiving. So this Alabama offense, buddy, is coming into their own here late in the season.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jamison Williams, too. 8 catches, 190 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I think outside of any quarterbacks out there, maybe like a Hendon Hooker, but outside of the quarterback position, I don't think there's a bigger impact transfer in college football than Jamison Williams. I don't know where Alabama would be without their big play receiver. But now I agree with everything you just said. I mean, the offense was fantastic, but I'm very concerned at this point, Shane, with the defense of Alabama. They allowed 5 drives of over 75 yards, and all those resulted in touchdowns for the Arkansas Razorbacks, which makes me think, all credit to Arkansas, because we've been singing their praises, saying they're better than anticipated. How's that going to look against the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC Championship? How's that going to look in a potential college football playoff when you got to go up against maybe an Ohio State or Oklahoma? I don't know, but this defense is, a huge red flag. If Alabama is thinking they're going to repeat as national champions, they're going to have to. It seems like they're going to have to play an aggressive style where they're going to have to force turnovers. Now their offense can score on anybody. I have no doubt, but the defense being such an issue there, it's like I've been saying, man. I've been saying it for a couple of years, and everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I think old Alabama and Nick Saban, I think they've lost a step when it comes to defensive football. And maybe that's more just the game changing and it's being more an offensive game. But when I see Arkansas Razorbacks going up and down the field on them all day, I'm a little bit concerned there.
Well, you should be, Mike. I don't think Alabama can play this way and beat Georgia. I think the offense is key. I think it'll be the best. And I know I'm overlooking Auburn. Can't, the Iron Bowl, anything can happen. But I'm telling you right now, Mike, if they play like this on defense, Georgia is going to score at will. Yeah. Because they've got a good enough offense to do that. But I don't think Alabama is going to be able to put up 42 points against a team that literally gives up 1 to 2 touchdowns every 3 weeks. So that's my biggest concern is what you said. That side not getting better. The offense is getting better, but the defense feels like it's still. Now I know we're dealing with some injuries and we got some of that. We can't overlook that part, and we're not as deep as we used to be week 1, but But I'm a little concerned. I especially coming into this. This is going to be an epic SEC championship, Mike. It's going to be. It's literally the national championship, in my honest opinion. I cannot wait for it. But they are going to have to get their shit together through the Auburn game, or Georgia's going to steamroll them, man.
Yeah, and with this win at Alabama, that's why we keep referencing it. They have clinched the SEC West. They are headed to Atlanta to meet them Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot wait for that matchup, Shane. But, we'll have plenty of time to break it down. But I wonder who's the more motivated team, because I think Georgia's automatically in the playoff, where it's going to be do or die for the Crimson Tide. While maybe Georgia, you want to finally, get over this Alabama demon and stomp them in the SEC championship in Atlanta while you can. That's going to be one hell of a matchup, like you're saying.
Bryce had a historic night throwing. Can you put in perspective how difficult it is, given the kind of defense Arkansas runs from an X's and O's perspective?
Well, I think we had a really good plan on offense. We had a lot of solid runs, even though, you might say we only had whatever we had, 100 and some yards rushing, but we had a lot of situations where we put ourselves in positive down the distance situation. When you get behind the sticks on them and they drop 8 guys, it really gets tough. But we had a good plan to attack the 8 drop. We didn't do a very good job of it in the red zone. And he made really good decisions about who to throw the ball to. And, he had several, at least 4 drops to go with. And he had a couple overthrows. But, the guy had a fantastic game, I think, and really did a good job sort of taking what they give. He's accurate with the ball, and other than a couple drops, the receivers did a really good job in the game as well.
You won several of these games, these close games where you haven't been able to put teams away. How do you view that dynamic between winning the games but not fully, putting the other team away?
Well, what I look at is how did we execute in the game? What did we do in the game that kept us from putting the game away? All right, so that's the perspective that I look at it, and a lot of the things that I just talked about is why we didn't put the game away. The last touchdown, 8's not supposed to be on the running back. All right, so we don't play the coverage the way it's supposed to be played. They might have scored anyway, I don't know, but you at least like to think that you're out there executing and doing what you're supposed to do. Guys don't take the right guys on slider boots. We turn people loose in man-to-man. We get a penalty when we score a touchdown that would put the game away. Then we take a sack and miss the field goal. So all these things contribute to not putting the game away. So that's the kind of stuff that we need to fix, but it's also stuff that can be fixed. So we just got to keep working on it, and we got to have the players buy into what they need to do to get it fixed.
And then if you could comment on Traylon Burks, is just I know he hurt his shoulder, just kept playing, and what you thought of his game and how he's feeling right now.
Well, I think he's probably beat up, but he just kept coming back, and he won a lot of one-on-one matchups tonight, and KJ got the ball to him. But he's a tough, great player and a better person. But I tell you what, he had a half a game tonight.
Yeah, Coach, KJ was 22 of 30, 326, 3 touchdowns. Really probably should have had 4 touchdowns. What did you think of his play today, and just showed a lot of resiliency throughout?
Well, first of all, I felt like the line protected pretty well for him. He obviously got away from some pressure. But, man, and he just getting better every week. He's just I wouldn't trade him. And as a character player, but I thought he was outstanding. He had some good runs in there tonight. He's just a tough guy that, I'm glad he's our quarterback. But to go out there and do what he did tonight, Trey, you wouldn't have mentioned it if it wasn't outstanding. And it certainly was. And I think he came out of it pretty, he's probably sore, but I think he came out of it probably okay. we got a short week, so I certainly hope he did. But I'm so proud of him. I mean, look at the first game and to now, I mean, and consecutive weeks of how he's played. I mean, I'm glad he's our quarterback.
Sam, what do you think, the way the Georgia game was over in a hurry, just not a good day at all. And then this one, you guys are in it to the very end. What do you think that says about how the team's progressed since that Georgia game?
Well, I mean, obviously it's two different teams, but we certainly have learned a lot. We learned from the Georgia game. And, we practiced what we learned from the Georgia game. And for the most part, we were much better tonight at those negatives that, we told our team about from Georgia. So, but they're two different teams and things of that nature. But I think it says a lot that we can go out on the road and play Alabama and make it a game. And that's what we did.
Staying in the Alabama, not really, but with the team there, Auburn Tigers, Shane, go on the road, fall to the South Carolina Gamecocks 21-17 in a game I'm still trying to figure out how in the hell the Tigers blew this one. They got out to a 14-0 lead, and I thought, man, they are going to steamroll this South Carolina team. But some questionable play calls by Mike Bobo. South Carolina fans are pleased to hear me say that, but I don't understand what in the hell they were doing late in the game, not getting Tank Bigsby the ball more. But, really credit South Carolina. They're not flashy. They don't have a ton of star players, although Zaquandre Wright, he had a hell of a game. Jason Brown continues to step up and look like the best quarterback on the roster. But, man, what a job by the Gamecocks, Shane, to get to that 6th win when last week, losing to Missouri, you thought, man, there goes their best shot to get to a bowl game. They were underdogs at home. Once again, they pull off the stunner. We got to give Shane Beamer and this coaching staff credit. But, man, it's just another double-digit lead blown by the Auburn Tigers. And, man, Tiger fans are pissed. I don't blame them. But what was your take on South Carolina pulling off the upset at home?
Did it touch him? I mean, did it?
Yeah, that was tough. Crucial play in the ball game there.
I kept watching it, man, and listening to RG3 tell me what I should be looking for, and I had to agree with him at it. I don't know if it was clear and definitive. That's my thing, and I understand as a Gamecock fan, maybe there's a camera angle we didn't see or something like that. As a South Carolina fan, you're tickled pink, but as an Auburn fan, part of you have to like. There was still time on the clock. I mean, It wasn't like if Auburn recovered the punt, the game is over or they automatically win. They still had to go the length of the field and score. So it just kind of seemed odd to me that something so minute like that was decided by the refs when it easily could have been decided on the field. That's my 2 cents on it, okay? Now, as far as South Carolina, brother, they're going bowling. Can you believe that? I mean, it's been an up and down battle for the South Carolina Gamecock Nation, all right? But the fact that you have sealed up a bowl game and not even had to play Clemson yet blows my mind. If you would have told me that 3-4 weeks ago, I'd have called you nuts. I said there'd be no freaking way. Kudos to that staff. Kudos to that fan base. Like you said, they got down 14 points. My brother sent a text talking about how shitty South Carolina is. I'm not putting him on blast, but I'm just saying what he said. But then all of a sudden, South Carolina just keeps fighting back, baby. And then what did I tell you? Going into this game, the only way South Carolina wins is if the fans show up. Yep. If they get loud, they get rowdy, and guess what? They did. That's what South Carolina – they needed it. They needed the fans to just buy into Beamer ball and secure a victory. And that kudos to them showing up, making loud noise. Auburn – brothers, I mean, this is 2 of the toughest damn weeks that you've been through. I mean, Auburn – boy, they've been put through the ringer this year, Mike, and this was just icing on a cake for a frustrating season.
Yeah, and if you missed it, I got old takes exposed over the weekend because it was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was after the Auburn-Arkansas game. I said we got to put Brian Harsin in contention for Coach of the Year in the SEC. Mm-hmm. And, I really did feel that way, Shane, because you got to remember, all off season, we were hearing it from the Auburn faithful. It's not like we were saying Auburn was terrible, but it was more to do with the fact that we thought this SEC West was going to be as tough as it's turned out to be. And I picked Auburn to be the 7th place team in the West. And here they go on the road. They beat a hot Arkansas team. They win in LSU for the first time since 1999. 1999. Gus Malzahn never won in Baton Rouge. They also beat Ole Miss by double digits, who's Ole Miss is number 8 in the country, brother. So I think that's where the anger with the Auburn fan base comes, because we've seen what this roster and what this coaching staff is capable of coaching these players up to do. Then you turn it around, you lose to South Carolina, a game, that in their mind you had no business losing. You were up 28-3 at home on Mississippi State. You find a way to lose that. Mm-hmm. No business losing that game. And you you look terrible against A&M as well. So you're on such a skid, and everybody thinks you're going to get your ass kicked in the Iron Bowl, which may or may not happen. But at the end of the day, Shane, right now, Auburn's right where we said they were. It just didn't happen the way we thought it was going to happen. I thought, they'd get their ass kicked by all those teams in the middle of the year. They'd finish strong, but it's flip-flop. So at the end of the day, year one for Brian Harsin, I don't know how you're mad at the guy, considering, you're disappointed for sure, but hell, I'm seeing people, we got to fire this guy already. He's not even made it through his first year in the SEC. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's hard not to, Mike, because football's a passionate sport to watch. Sometimes Brian, I think Auburn going in, like you said, if you look at the end of the season, I show you the record, you're going to be like, yeah, it's kind of what we expected. Mm-hmm. But as what Auburn did that hurt is there was a time in the season, multiple times, you're like, oh man, Auburn controlling their destiny? Yep. What? Is this the season that we weren't talking about? Is this a coach that was the steal last year? There was that kind of mentality floating around, and Bo Nix coming out looking like a Heisman candidate a couple of times. And it's just, so you buy in, and then you get punched in the face. And then you buy back in, and you're like, oh, man, okay, all right, we're going to do this. We killed Ole Miss. We're back, baby. And then you get kicked. It's just like every time, up and down, up and down. And I think that's hard because, like I said, it is an emotional sport to watch, and it's tough not to be emotionally invested into this program. But like you said, you look at the end of the season, what are the results? You're going bowling. You still got an opportunity to take off Alabama. I think you're happy with where you're at, but how you got there, going through all that, you're upset because it should be more. It should be better.
Mm-hmm. So happy for them. We're going to a bowl. So happy for our fans. And just proud of their effort tonight. It wasn't pretty early. We were down 14-0. These guys never flinched. Like always, they just come right back out there and played their rear ends off in the second half. We lined up and basically ran the same 2 running plays on offense the entire game, and it was awesome to see. So we're going to really enjoy this one, and then we can't wait to come back in here in 7 days and do it again. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Ben Portnoy's got the first one.
Shane, for the offensive line to answer the bell tonight, obviously has been a quote-unquote punching bag for a lot of critics out there. Them to handle a talented Auburn defensive line in a game where there was a lot of ramifications for you guys coming out of it. How do you feel like they just handled the situation tonight and really put this team in a position to be where it is right now?
Yeah, they were awesome, and you're right. That is a really, really good defense, and that's a defense that, I watched the Texas A&M game on television, and a lot of teams have had a hard time scoring points against those guys. And I know Zero didn't play tonight for them, and he's a heck of a player at linebacker. But they got a fantastic front seven like Auburn always does, and that's what excites me. Is as a big boy SEC defense we just played, and our offensive line went toe-to-toe with them, and they've got a really good front seven. They've got a great group of linebackers, 29's a heck of a player on the edge, and they got a high draft pick sitting out there at corner, and Smoke Monday is a great safety. So just proud of those guys. And I think it shows that, when we execute, we can go up against anybody. And we got another big challenge next week. I mean, I know what kind of defense the crowd we're about to face coming in here next Saturday, what kind of defense they have as well. So, we got to do a great job of getting ready to do it again, and not take a 2 steps forward and then take a step back next week. We got to continue to get better, because there were a lot of plays we left out there, last night or tonight as well. But did a nice job running the ball, and hate that we threw the interception down there in the red zone going into score. But for the most part, we protected the ball, and these were the 2 teams coming in here that were high in, near the top of the league in turnover margin, and knew that was going to be critical. And overall, good night.
Shane, Zaquandre accounted for, I think, 168 yards of offense by himself tonight. Just watching him run the ball, just pushing the pile, breaking tackles. How much does he mean to this team, both just on the field and off the field? I know you've touched kind of on his personality in the past too. Just how much does he mean to this team?
So much. He brings great energy to our team. On and off the field, he's the same every way. I mean, the way that he ran the ball and caught the ball tonight, it's the way he does it in practice every day. Like, there's only one speed with Zaquandre. He doesn't turn it on and off. And it was awesome to see. Heck of a catch, 3 catches for 69 yards. Huge catch on, I think it was a 4th down. We went for it, and he caught that ball. A play we've ran a lot this year when we leak them out of the backfield. Really the same play we scored on against Missouri last week. We just doctored it up or jazzed it up a little bit with the way we got to it. But he's a weapon. He continues to get better and better each week. Kevin came in and did a nice job, and that group's a solid group. Happy for him.
Hey, Brian, what was the explanation on the muff punt? Obviously, a really close call that was overturned. I mean, what was said to you?
I don't know. I mean, it's that he touched it. That's really what it comes down to. Didn't see that on the field. I think we've all had plays where balls have hit one of our players or another team, and you see the trajectory of the ball change and all that. Didn't call it on the field, so that was a turn. They turned it over and decided that it touched him somewhere, and again, that's in the game. They made that decision. You can argue all you want. I mean, that's a decision they made in there. It didn't look like it on the field, but at the end of the day, it didn't go in our favor.
Brian, I wanted to ask you about the 4th down call for you guys right before halftime, going for it on y'all's 35. Just sort of what was the decision, not only to go for it, but on that play call?
Well, you saw that we took a shot on that, being aggressive and trying to extend that drive. We could run it, and we had the shot right there. So we took it. That was part of being in that situation, maybe not in particularly that yard line right there, but that play or, trying to take a shot on 4th down. And, you're on the road and you want to give yourself a chance, hopefully hitting a big play. And we felt like we needed to hit some explosive plays in this game. And felt like in practice that play was a good play for us. And we thought, that was a good opportunity there to be aggressive and take that shot opportunity.
Mark Murphy.
Hey, can you talk about Tank's night? It was 22 for 164, but you didn't get the ball to him on your last possession. And on the 4th and 1, you didn't have him on the field on the 35-yard line. That reasoning for that. Seems like he'd be a good guy to fake it to on that play if you're going to throw it.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Certainly thought through that as well. So like I said, I explained the play, and it didn't go our way. If we hit that for a touchdown, then it's a great play. I mean, that's how it works. You take some opportunities in games, doesn't go your way, you're going to be obviously questioned for it. It goes your way, it's a great play. So all those other factors. I mean, I think you're making a comment more than anything, but that's how it turned out. So he had a good night, ran hard. Thought he did some good things. Thought the O-line did some good things, and we obviously didn't do enough.
All right, Shane, hey, let's jump it on down. Let's move this thing along. Ole Miss defends the home turf over Vanderbilt 31-17 in one of the ugliest games of the weekend here. The point spread was 36.5 points. Ole Miss never even got to 36. Vanderbilt showing signs of life on offense, but Matt Corral in the offense making mistakes left and right, and he announced prior to this game it's going to be his last game. He says farewell to Oxford and all the memories there. He's going on, obviously, to the NFL at the end of the season. But I think, Shane, this was a classic look ahead to the Egg Bowl, and you just came off the big Texas A&M win. We probably should have seen this one coming, but that's kind of more or less what I'm reading into this one. I don't think this is, Ole Miss overrated. Hell, they're number 8 in the country, but credit Vanderbilt for not giving up. But this is a ugly, ugly performance here by the Rebels, and in my mind, that's why the game was so close.
Well, Mike, as you know, this was my lock of the week as I put $100 on this. And I ain't gonna lie, there was a moment prior to this game. I'm officially putting the money in for this bet, right? I know I told you I'm not going to wait, but I was waiting on this one. And it got closer and got closer. And then I started thinking, I was like, can they really score 36 points more than Vanderbilt, And I'm looking, I'm like, but what? They did it against Tulane,
Mm-hmm.
Then I started having these doubts, but then I was like, nope. I told the listeners that this is my lock of the week. Even I was talking myself out of it, Mike, and I could have not made the bet and just went on, but I said, nope, I'm going to put it in there because, this is going to be for the Heisman. That's what Matt's playing for today. This is for the Heisman. This is for Katy Perry. This is for anybody and everybody that's an Ole Miss fan out there. And it did not work out well. I think the Heisman race got picked off there in about the fourth quarter by a Vanderbilt linebacker. And I'm going to tell you one thing about Vanderbilt, brother. I've watched a lot of games this year with Vandy, and this by far was the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides of the ball, offense, defense. I mean, we can sit around and we can blame Ole Miss for falling short, but the reason that they fell short was because Vanderbilt was playing some serious football out there, which is a great sign if you're a Vandy fan. I don't know. I think we saw a few players emerge this week. They actually got some talent on the outside. We had some weapons emerge on the offensive side. So kudos to Vandy for hanging in there. And Ole Miss, yeah, maybe they did overlook them. Maybe we were just reading our press clippings and, signing up and handing out. There's a video a few years back, and I can't remember which team it was, but it was a losing team of a national championship, and they were taking the shirts back, and then they ship it off to like Africa to, these countries that don't have clothes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
I was just thinking about all that Heisman propaganda just getting shipped right on out, because Matt ain't going to get it, brother. He just ain't. He lost it during this game.
Yeah, without a doubt. 1 of 8 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. And Vandy wasn't much better, brother. 9 of 21 on third down. There was a lot of tough football to watch on Saturday. You know what?
Yeah, but I will tell you, that little Pierce kid for Vandy, I think we got to mention him. 10 receptions, 113 yards. He was Vanderbilt's offense. He was able to keep them going at times. And, it wasn't a great game for Matt, but, I mean, the guy still put it on his shoulders. I mean, I guess that's what a Heisman does. He had a couple touchdowns. He still did it on the – I don't know what's going on with the running game. They kept talking about it during the game, Lane Kiffin getting on the mat. I don't know if that's true or not, but it does feel like I'm not saying Matt is not as good, but it does feel like sometimes if the running is not a threat from Matt, that he's not the Heisman candidate we've put on this pedestal. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I see what you're saying.
I mean, peak Matt Corral was running for 200 yards against the University of Tennessee. And we're talking about, okay, this is a guy that can win a Heisman. But you take that part out, I'm not saying it makes him one-dimensional, but it does kind of make this team a little bit more one-dimensional, and I think that hurts Lane Kiffin. So I get why we're trying to keep him healthy because he was banged up, but I think that was the real problem here was just health, man. He lost it in Auburn, and he got hurt there at the tail end of the Tennessee game, and after that, he's just not been the same.
Yeah. And now you got to play a lot better than this going into this Egg Bowl. You play like this, you're gonna get whooped in Starkville. You know what?
Oh, this is going to be a damn game, Mike. I'm telling you, brother. This is poor man SEC championship right here. If you ask me, I'm looking forward to this one because, and we'll get to it here in a little bit. But man, Thanksgiving, you cannot beat this game. I've never looked more forward to an Egg Bowl than I am this year, brother.
Yes, sir.
Matt announced last night that this is obviously his last game here. Can you just talk a little bit about what he's meant to this program over the last couple of years?
A ton. I think that I get a lot of credit for, coming in here and what's happened and the change and the wins and losses and all that stuff, compared to where it was before. And I would argue that he deserves more credit than me for that as the head coach versus the quarterback because, this guy is there when I'm not even in there and summer workouts when we can't be there and 6 a.m.s and all that. And I think he's had a lot to do with changing the mindset of people around here. And I think we've helped him with that. I think he kind of has taken over for us. I went in the locker room afterwards. I took a few minutes before to figure out, okay, am I going to go in like I would if this was in the middle of the season and rip them and say, well, we're not supposed to play Vanderbilt this close the way Vanderbilt was this year. And, I kind of came in and said, all right, I'm not going to do that because I do it too much to them. And it was really cool. Matt had the offense over before I got there, and he was basically doing what I wanted to do and ripping them from up and down. Said, don't you guys dare go out tonight. Don't do anything. That's embarrassing how we're playing. This ain't going to happen again because if we do, we're going to get our ass kicked next week. So that's pretty cool when a player takes over doing what he knows you were probably going to say. And so that was good. I kind of went more on just the accolades of senior day and winning and undefeated season and those things and program turnaround for these guys, and grateful to the seniors for that. So pretty neat to see.
Looking ahead to next week, of course, it's the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. You're able to be a part of that last year. What did you take away from that game last year, kind of getting you prepared going into a hostile environment on Thursday night?
Well, I think it's different, with the COVID aspect, so there wasn't really a crowd element that way. So I don't know. I know I'm not diminishing rivalry games, but everyone says you're supposed to treat them different and do all this different stuff, and I've just never been around where you do that. You don't all of a sudden practice more or try harder. That's not how we do things. We try to get to 1-0 every week. So I know you want to hear that, we're going to do some magic thing this week because we're playing Mississippi State, but we just got to prepare really well.
Over 450 yards of offense against the number 12 team in the country. How do you strike the balance both in terms of like conversations, what you say to the team after the game and maybe in practice this coming week, as well as, when you evaluate the tape and all that sort of stuff, how do you weigh, and strike that balance between maybe your team is improving late in the season, but at the same time, it's still a loss?
Well, no matter the results of the game, we always, by the time we're looking at it on Monday, we're just pulling the learning from it to apply it moving forward. Obviously, yardage isn't the goal. There are performances that will highlight that. We had guys step up and make plays, and again, I think it's like for us, we talk all week about a plan to win, a path to win, and us moving the ball on offense obviously is a part of that plan to win. We're not surprised when we do that. That's the expectation. I think for us, it's more looking at the times when we stall out or we, again, self-sabotage with procedural penalties and fixing those issues. This team has gotten better through the course of the year. I think tangible ways, and then in ways that are internal, ways that are in our locker room that the team knows, but maybe that no one else does. You see, it's a high character team. It's a team with a lot of fight in it. But this is a team that's desperate to win, and we get one chance to do that here at the end of the season. We're gonna put everything on the table this week to go out and fight for that outcome that we want. Again, going back on the road in conference, which is an awesome thing. So, we have a lot ahead of us for the positive and a lot to build off of, but this is going to be about how we put everything on the table to get a result this week.
Well, moving along, Shane, Tennessee takes care of business 60-14 over South Alabama. Man, this thing was a laugher. Tennessee scored touchdowns on their first 7 possessions of the game, and during that same span, the defense held South Alabama to 4 3-and-outs. I mean, they were swarming them. They were all over them. And, just watching this game, Shane, I cannot get over the fact this is the same damn program that for the last couple of years, it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You cannot, it's unwatchable football it's like you cannot miss it because you get up for a second, you leave the room for a moment, you're missing a touchdown, you're missing a kick return touchdown, you're missing tackles for loss, the other team's already punting. Night and day different. And I know South Alabama, they're not going to hang any banners in Knoxville for beating this team, but you did punch your ticket to the postseason, which, that has got to be the goal of the first season of the Josh Heupel era, and you got an opportunity to win at least one more game, if not obviously 2. There was nothing but great news here from Rocky Top, and I said it going into this one. It's just felt like one where Tennessee would lay down and have a huge letdown in years past.
Yeah.
None of that. I mean, they just came out and just throttled this team.
That's it, man. And I'm watching it 7-0, 14-0. It's just these. If I made the comment, at halftime, if Pruitt were there, this would be a 17-10 game, and I truly believe it. And most of my comments were like, "Yeah, but we'd be down 7." You think about the last decade that we've had against teams that we're supposed to beat. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we play them tight for the first half, and then we're sitting there with our starters in the fourth quarter trying to have a comeback victory. You shouldn't have that. This worked exactly the way it's supposed to. When you have cupcake teams, you get your starters out early, you work out on your offense, you work on your defense, you get some of the younger players in there, you keep them healthy, you keep them energized and excited, and the fans engaged. That's the way these games are meant to be, and we've not seen them in the past. Hell, there's I made the comment, Coastal and UTEP and Western Kentucky's and all this. It just feels like those teams just kind of hung around, and we were afraid they're going to beat us. Georgia State, for crying out loud. So this was just a breath of fresh air just to watch total domination. Able to turn a game off at half, Mike. I haven't been able to turn a Tennessee game off at half in a long time. So I was very, very excited about that. It was very good, very efficient, and I will tell you, Mike, this is the time of year we hit the bowl. We're doing better than I think most people expected, and you're even hearing the rumor mill, people trying to come poach the coach. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the kind of rumors you want to hear. You want people to want your coach because obviously we are moving in the right direction. So I'm excited. Not much to really talk about this game because, like you said, they had 2 safeties. They couldn't even punt the ball. So South Alabama, don't get me wrong, they really struggled during this thing. I was watching, what's his name, the Houston coach.
Oh, yeah, Major, yeah. Applewhite.
Yeah, man, just major depressant, man. Just sitting there. Think about where you came from. You're a young up-and-coming Houston coach, and now you're at South Alabama. You can't even control your coach. He's like, he does a play, and they're like, well, he's probably going to go for it. Analytics, 4th down, and it's just like, oh, man, that's got to be frustrating. You don't even know what you're supposed to be playing as an offense coordinator. But anyway, man, South Alabama, good game. Not a lot to take from there, but it was exciting victory.
Yeah, the offense obviously going to get most of the attention on our Josh Heupel team, but 13 tackles for loss. You mentioned the 2 safeties held South Alabama to less than 2 yards per carry on the ground. So just a great all-around performance. Now, where it wasn't.
Real quick. Well, can I say one thing, Mike? I do want to point out that we got to mention some of these receivers for especially Tillman. Secretly, this kid is having a season, buddy. Every game, it seems like he's finding a touchdown somewhere. But this is one of those, Tennessee coming in the season, we were afraid about some of these young receivers. But Tillman has emerged as a serious threat and somebody, he's getting up there, man. He's going to have some accolades at the end of the season. And a lot of that has to do with what he's been able to put together the last 4 or 5 weeks here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams are fading this time of the year. You guys seem to be progressing. What's that challenge like, and how are you guys doing that when a lot of teams aren't?
The challenge in life, the challenge in their academics, the challenge in anything that we do, the challenge for a football program is to finish. That's finish the season. It's finish the game. It's finish the rep in the weight room. It's in everything that we do. Our guys continue to compete at a really high level. They've grown that way. You guys know that I love competing with this group of guys. Continuing to grow and just in our understanding of what we're doing schematically, but they continue to have great practice habits. I do, man. Our best is still out in front of us. They understand that the competition, really isn't who you're playing on Saturday. I don't care what week it is. It's really an intrinsic battle against yourself and in some ways fighting human nature.
Josh, how big was it for this program to reach a bowl game in year one?
Yeah, important for sure. The opportunities that come behind it tonight. I don't think there's anybody inside of our program. This is going to sound odd. That was focused on that part of it. That's not what I talked about. I don't think that's what our focus was from our players. It was truly on South Alabama, but really on us and continuing to grow and compete. It's big for us because it just continues to build the momentum that we've had going here during the course of the season. It gives you opportunities to continue to compete into December and grow, in particular with your young players and some development that happens there, which is really important for us in year one.
Well, speaking of a game that was not as impressive, Shane, but they got the W here. LSU hosting ULM wins 27-14. Mm-hmm. This was kind of a ho-hum type performance, but Max Johnson inserted back in the starting lineup. He came up pretty big. And LSU, here's the problem. They jumped on them early, 3 scoring drives, 3 out of the first 4, and the 4th one was a missed field goal. So they jumped on them. You thought, oh, okay, they're going to just beat the hell out of ULM. And then they just didn't do much after that. ULM kept shooting themselves in the foot. Otherwise, they may have made this thing competitive. But, not a real surprise for us, I don't think, because coming off Alabama and Arkansas, 2 narrow defeats, it's going to be hard for LSU to get up for this game. But just the main takeaway for me is the fact that Max Johnson got put back in there, and he responded well, I think, to last week getting benched, and he's starting to look a little bit like the old Max Johnson, in my opinion. Malik Neighbors also had a big game, 4 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown, and LSU keeps its bowl hopes alive. LSU, Florida, and Vandy, the only 3 teams in the SEC, Shane, that have not punched their ticket to the postseason, and both Florida and LSU have that opportunity the final weekend of the season in rivalry games.
Yeah, and again, the defense I think was the key for me. This defense is legit, Mike. It's week after week. LSU's finding a way. Yeah, there were some stupid plays in here clearly, but it was a bend not break team. And if it weren't for that last score there by ULM, this wouldn't even really have ever been a ball game. So I think that's the big one. And don't forget, I like young talent, man. I like seeing some of these young guys pop. We got to see Neighbors. This is a freshman. This is the future of LSU. You're shining. You're recruiting a coach now, man. And to recruit a coach, you got to show that you got some young talent on that roster. And LSU's got plenty of that, Mike.
Yeah, and then the other games here, Shane, I mean, none of these really worth discussing in great length. I don't know if anything jumped out to you. Kentucky beat New Mexico State 56-16. Couple of turnovers here for Kentucky. That's just who they are at this point. The first turnover of the game led to some points, but they had a pick 6. We got to see Bo Allen, the young quarterback. Mm-hmm. He scored a couple of touchdowns, scored his first career touchdown for the Kentucky Wildcats. They just dominated this thing. Georgia beat the hell out of Charleston Southern 56-7. And Heisman moment, Shane, Jordan Davis. We all got to see his rushing touchdown. Basically was the highlight of the game for me. I don't know about you. Texas A&M beat Prairie View 52-3. And Mississippi State beat Eddie George 55-10. Anything stand out from those blowouts?
Yes. Absolutely. Jordan Davis touchdown. I think that was important, Mike, because there's a lot of fat kids out there that never got the opportunity to take football into the end zone. So if you're a high school coach or a middle school coach and you got a fat lineman that's never had that opportunity and you got a blowout, you need to put him in the backfield and give him one damn shot to put it in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. We can't help it. We like to eat. We can't help we're big boned and you can't push away from the table. There's a lot of things that we can't help, but one thing that we can is we can help a team win. Just give us the ball, give us an opportunity. I'll wear whatever football number I need to get back there. But anyway, Mike, I think that was a big one for me. I love seeing Jordan Davis get the score because that's a fat guy's dream, brother. I'm telling you right now. Another thing that I liked, there's a tweet that was floating around from Kentucky. Rouse, did you see that one? That one was probably my favorite. I think I died rolling when I saw that. Talk about Levis throwing that interception.
Yeah, we'll throw it up on the screen.
Did you see that?
He basically said, man, Will Levis, he's a gunslinger. He's got that attitude. Threw a pick on the play, but I love the attitude. I was like, got a hell of an arm, man. I just loved how he threw it there in the end zone. It was an interception, but damn, he didn't let anything back. So I loved it. They had me a little worried. New Mexico State went up early on that one, and I was like, oh my God. I was thinking all my picks are going to be wrong, but Kentucky they ended up smoking them. So what was the other ones that we talked? Mississippi State. I didn't watch literally much of this game at all. I just wanted to see Eddie George on the sideline, I think is what I was trying to accomplish there. But Will Rogers, another fantastic game. I mean, this is shaping up, like I was telling you, we're just a little hint to Thanksgiving. This is going to be a hell of an Egg Bowl. These teams are playing. I think Mississippi State's playing their best ball right now. So yeah. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Yeah, he's broken Dak Prescott's records for most touchdowns, most passing yards. 13 different receivers caught the ball from Mississippi State. That's what you expect going into a game like this. Just beat the hell out of them, get everybody involved. He threw 6 incompletions, 5 touchdowns. So I think Mike Leach he'll live with a touchdown per incompletion from his quarterback. You know what?
Absolutely, Mike. This was a fantastic weekend. It was an awesome weekend. When I look at it, the games that were meant to be close were close. The games that were meant to be blowouts were blowouts. It was fantastic football. A lot of nail biters here. We're slipping, brother. We got one more Saturday, and then we're gonna get the conference championship play. But man, just soak it up, guys. Soak it up. I don't care if it is a Tennessee, South Alabama. I watched every minute of it because I don't have many minutes left, So I'm thinking we're going to have a hell of a weekend. We got Thanksgiving coming up, turkey coming in, family coming in. This is football. When I think of football, Mike, I think of this week right here. You know what I'm saying? Football on TV every day, turkey, leftover turkey. It's like, I mean, all the diets out the window, everything, man. This is my favorite week. It should be your favorite week. I hope you guys enjoy it, but it all starts with a great weekend of football, and I think that's what we got coming up ahead.
Well, speaking of that, Shane, real quick, last thing before we hop off the line, we got the opening lines for all these games, Shane.
Oh, shit.
And they all look fantastic. So I want to ask you about each of them, Shane. The Egg Bowl, the one we keep talking about, Ole Miss at Mississippi State. What's your opening line for that, you think?
Ole Miss, give me Ole Miss -6.
2.5. Ole Miss is favored, so pretty close right there.
Okay, good.
Now, how about this?
I was predicting what Vegas would say. I think it's going to be a pick 'em, but go ahead.
The following day, remember this game's on Friday. Missouri at Arkansas.
Man, these guys hate each other. Arkansas -3.5.
15 in favor of Arkansas. I think that's way off, don't you?
Yeah, man, these guys are gonna. This is gonna be a terrible. I love rivalry. This should piss you off if you're a Mizzou fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
It should piss you off. I hope Tyler Beatty's listening to this right now. He's doing extra push-ups right now. So yeah, that's crazy to me to think that's more than a 2 scores. That's crazy.
How about this one? Georgia at Georgia Tech.
Oh, and now this one's gonna be a blowout. Oh man, this is I would say give me Georgia minus 31.
Close, 35. Georgia's favorite.
Okay, yeah, they better go back to the wishbone, mix it up a little bit this week.
How about this, Shane? Florida State at Florida.
Florida State at Florida. Now this one's interesting, Mike, because I don't know. I'm going to say right now. God, give me a pick 'em. I really have no clue here.
Close. Florida State -1 on the road. All right, how about
man? That's gonna be a good.
How about the Iron Bowl? Alabama at Auburn.
Oh man, we've had some killer games here, but Mike, right now, given the current situation, I got to give Alabama -16.
Alabama -21.
Ooh. That's a lot, man. In an Iron Bowl? Come on now.
Now, here's one near and dear to your heart, Shane. Vanderbilt at Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Give me Tennessee minus, at least 40, right? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Vandy, but I hate you this week. Give me Tennessee minus 20.
31.
Oh,
you were closer the first time.
Okay. Yeah, I was joking.
How about this? This could be a good one. Texas A&M at LSU, depending on which LSU shows up.
Oh man, Coach O's last game, brother.
I know.
Give me Texas A&M minus 9.
Ooh,
and a half.
Close. Aggies favored by 7.
Okay.
All right. Kentucky at Louisville.
Kentucky at Louisville. Oh, man, we all hate Louisville. So give me Kentucky minus 13.5.
Here's another one. You might want to bet up. Kentucky favored by 2. What the hell are they thinking there?
What? Golly.
Is Louisville 10-0 and I don't know about it?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. I was trying to think if old boy from Baltimore was coming in to work. What's his name again? Yeah, is Lamar coming in for the weekend? No, get the hell out of here. That's my favorite one right now. I'm not locking anything down, but put your money on Kentucky while you can.
All right, last but not least, Shane, Clemson at South Carolina. Who you got?
Oh, man, please, South Carolina, if you could do anything, win this week. I'm going to go – I know because it's come out Vegas and people are stupid sometimes out there, but give me Clemson minus 6.5.
Clemson?
No. Clemson minus 9.
It's 14. Bet up them Gamecocks. How about it? Clemson sucks this year.
Jeez, man, come on. Come on, Beamer. If you're going to win any game, do it this week. Pull it all out. That's what I'm saying.
He's going to get lifetime contract if he wins this week. You know what?
Absolutely. Anytime you got an opportunity to beat Clemson. I mean, this is the year. I told you at the start of the season, Mike, this is the year that Clemson's dethroned. This is the year that people stop thinking Clemson's a great program. Mm-hmm. You do that by getting your ass kicked by the South Carolina Gamecocks at the end of the season. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Man, I love Rivalry Week. Here I was just talking about Thanksgiving, and we should love each other. But then it's like, no. We don't love everybody. We don't like them people across the tracks. You know what I'm saying?
All right, buddy. Hey, we went long on this one. I do appreciate you hopping on the line. And, man, we got so much great football to look forward to all week. Cannot wait for it. But I appreciate you, as always. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.